You are listening to the Wandering Chronicles podcast. I am Ashley.
I'm Jamie.
We could just jump into the story.
I don't really have anything to talk about. I watched the, this is like the only thing I've done recently that's like worth talking about. I finished watching The Girl from Plainville.
Oh, yeah. You were telling me about that yesterday.
Which is for those of you who aren't like watching it, is about the Michelle Carter / Conrad Roy case, the girl that texted her boyfriend to kill himself.
Mm.
And it made me feel bad for her, which made me feel bad in general.
Oh.
Because she's not exactly a good person, but she's not exactly a bad person either. As with most things.
Shades of gray.
Yeah, it's just more complicated than that. It'd be nice if it was simple and people were just either good or bad, but that's just not how the world works.
Yeah, everybody wants to put a label on something, so she's bad, they're good, but it's never that easy.
I feel like the true crime genre, which I listen to a fair bit of it, but I've been getting a little bit not as into it because it's starting to feel exploitative. And her story, I think, that story is very exploitative.
I can see exactly what you're talking about. I mean, you're taking people's worst moments and using it to entertain other people.
Yeah, it's good if the people that are if the stories come to completion and justice has been served, or you know what I mean? Like, in that story, she's a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
At this point, and it's just like, well, what is a 20-year-old? Like, her whole life is over. And his is too, so it's just shitty for both of them.
Yeah, and I mean, they're so young, it's a shame.
Yeah, unfortunately, true crime talks a lot about young people, because a lot of young people are the victims.
It's also true.
That's a weird topic, but it is how I have been thinking about recently. Is like, I'm glad that when we do true crime cases, it's usually not something that's like recent.
Yeah.
That it's happened a while ago, and even if it's not necessarily solved, the people involved have moved into a different part of their life.
Yeah, I agree. So I don't know how people who do true crime podcasts every episode handle it, because like anytime I've had to do that, one time I had 2 stories in a row, I felt like I was like gonna lose it. It was terrible. And just being that immersed in it is just hard. It's really hard.
I'm not nearly as affected by that as I should be, maybe. I don't know. I'm not really affected by the sadness of most stories. Not saying none of them get through, but most stories don't get to me. They have to kind of connect with my own life in some way where I'm like, that could be me.
Yeah.
Beyond just a girl that got hurt or something like that. But there are some stories that's just like, okay, well, everybody's heard that story, and the family has been open about not wanting to talk about it. So I guess, and that's what I was kind of thinking about, is that, the Conrad Roy story, like, it's been talked about enough.
Yeah.
And so it made me feel bad for everyone, because she's got to live her life now. Even though she did this horrible thing, she's only 20. She's got years to go.
Yeah.
And now that's like going to be the first thing anyone knows about her. And maybe that's good, maybe it's bad, but it still makes me feel bad for her regardless. It's
not a great thing to have follow you around in life, especially when you start it off with being 20 years old and having that follow you around like a ghost that just like, hey, she did this.
And she was kind of a broken person before. I mean, a well person wouldn't do that to begin with, so the kind of person that would make that sort of choice, she's just had a tough life.
Yeah.
So is he. It's not like I don't acknowledge that shit sucked for him and he's now gone. But it's a really interesting show that they made it a story that everyone has heard and pretty much sided against her. They were able to make her an empathetic person in the story, which I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Is that every time before this, when I've heard that story, I've been like, she's gross. It's awful.
Yeah.
And they actually made her like a likable character, and it's not only because it was a Fanning girl that played her.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah. Because it's hard to, like, look at one of the Fanning girls and be like, you're a bad guy in this story, because they all look so innocent.
They're so cute. Like, they're so little and cute.
I know, and I just picture them as children because I've seen them all since they were children. Even though they're grown-ups now, it's like, but you're a kid.
You're still a kid. But
so that's the only thing that's happened with me that is worth talking about.
Yeah, I could talk about going to the open studios yesterday and Dan trying to mansplain art to me.
Crazy.
For the rest of the night, because that happened pretty early in the evening, for the rest of the night, every time we walked up to a piece, I was like, do you want to explain this one to me too? So I just kept giving him shit about it.
Yeah, he lived to regret that.
Oh yeah, no, I did not let him forget it. I did not let him forget it. And nor should he. Oh, someone did something, or something happened. Or the air and water show finally ended.
It ended a while ago, didn't it?
It ended at 2, but I also heard jets at like 2:30, so hopefully hopefully that was them heading back to whatever hole they live in.
Interesting. I have a friend who also lives in Chicago who was texting me that they were done at 1:30. She's like, "Oh, finally, I don't hear anything anymore."
No, I heard them at 2:30.
So maybe that's just where she lives.
Yeah, I live maybe half a mile away from where it's taking place. Mm-hmm. So I hear everything.
I had randomly last night at like 11:30 or midnight. I don't know if it was inside the apartment or if it was outside. Somewhere, someone's alarm went off, and it was like that. It sounded just like that. So it was probably a cop, but it wasn't normal where it went over and over again. It just was like woo! And last I heard of it. So I don't know if it was like the cops warning someone, like they saw someone doing something shady. And they're like, okay, we're here, we're looking. Don't do that shady shit no more.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they saw someone looking in someone's car windows, but you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know what sound you're talking about. It's like that, like, warning siren, where it's like, whoop!
Yeah, they did that, like, once or twice, and then it was over. Oh. And then this morning, and then I took my headphones off, and I already had my fan on, because I sleep with a fan on, because I sleep with white noise. And I thought I heard people talking, but it was like muffled enough, so I'm like, well, maybe someone's TV is kind of loud. Who knows? Then I woke up this morning and I've been I sat on my couch while I was drinking my coffee this morning, and like 4 different people that don't live in this building left. And I'm like, oh, someone was having a party last night.
Oh, man.
So I don't know if the boop was related to that or what the fuck.
Just trying to break something up, yeah.
Oh yeah, I just saw a line of Ubers pick people up this.
It's an Uber parade.
I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah, been weird. It's been a weird few days. It's been a weird life.
Yeah.
But yeah, yesterday was fun. I was so tired by the end of the day. I think I ended up walking 10 and a half miles yesterday total. So tired. So I wore this shirt yesterday that says, I have given up. Mm-hmm. I don't usually wear it out. I usually wear it at home or I wear it to the studio.
But since you have officially given up.
Yes. But I wore it out last night. The I have given up shirt turned out to be really funny because I was wearing my contacts yesterday. So I had sunglasses on so I could see people's reactions to reading my shirt as they walked by and like they were like side-eyeing me. And one guy was like, don't give up. And I'm like, it's too late, man. Did you see the shirt? Too late.
What do you want me to do? Take my shirt off? Rude, man.
No,
rude.
Not happening. So I'm an idiot. This is just I'm gonna put it out there so everyone knows how dumb I am. So I wanted to take a picture of me wearing the shirt to send to Jesse and be like, hey, I'm wearing the shirt. It's awesome. And so I was like standing by the statue in front of the open studio building and I decided I was going to try like a jumping photo. And I banged, like we did one and it just didn't turn out because Dan. And so we took another photo, and the second time I whapped my arm right into the statue, like on like a sharp edge, and can't see it anymore, but I had this red mark all the way down my arm, and now my arm is swelling and bruising, and there's like a huge bump underneath my arm, and by Monday it's just gonna be a giant bruise. But this is the badge I wear for being an idiot. I'm too old to jump.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. We're aging to the point where we need to start. I was talking to a coworker yesterday who was like, I fell putting pants on and have to have surgery. Yeah. Like, we just get to an age where, you know, shit just takes you longer, or it hurts you more, and then it takes you longer to recover from.
Yep.
On top of it. And it's always like the dumbest thing. Like I remember years ago, right after college, having an older coworker who was just walking around. You know when you sleep funny and your neck's all stiff the next day? It was like that, but when I asked her what happened, she goes, I sneezed in the shower. Shut up.
My coworker was telling me once that he hurt his back bending over in the shower to wash his feet.
That's why I wash my feet in the sink.
Yeah. I was like, this is why you bring your feet to you. You don't bring yourself to your feet.
But you can't do that in the shower because then you fall off your ass.
Yeah.
Because you slip. Like, getting older is a whole fucking mood.
It is a whole thing. It's fucking awful. When we were walking back to the train at the end of the night, we had to stop part of the way there, and Dad's like, I'm gonna need a knee brace, aren't I? My knees hurt. I'm like, age, man. Getting old sucks. Your whole body falls apart. Oh yeah, you can still see the mark. It's right there.
Ooh, you can. It looks really purple.
Yeah, it like, there's like, my wrist is like legitimately swollen.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Comparison-wise.
I'm an idiot.
Oh, there is a party going on upstairs, by the way.
Oh no.
I noticed my neighbor's family all pour in, and then he just came in carrying 2 cases of Corona.
They're gonna have a party.
It's taco night. But yeah, that's, getting older is the fucking worst.
Yeah, it is. Oh my god, yeah.
I've been, I don't want to go into too much of a reason why, so I'm just going to make this statement.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm taking a leave of absence from work, for mental health reasons. I'm mentioning it because it's happening, and I think some of my coworkers listen to this, and I don't want it to seem like I'm doing better than I am.
Yeah. We always put our best foot forward in public, and then behind the scenes we suffer, so I understand.
Yeah. But I have been out of work now for less than 24 hours, and I've already decided that I'm going to spend this time rearranging my living room. So it's going great.
That's like one of my favorite things to do when I'm like having a bad time. It's just like rearrange my room and just make things feel better.
Yeah, I don't know that it's a good idea for me, because it just means there's going to be more holes in the wall when I move out for things that I hang up, but I think I'm going to rearrange. We'll see.
I've run out of ways to arrange my apartment at this point because I've lived here for 8 years, and I've put it in every configuration that makes sense, short of like putting my couch in front of my front door, which, one day might just happen anyways, but I don't know. If my lock ever breaks again, that's where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put my couch in front of the front door so I don't feel freaked out.
Oh, that's what you mean. I thought you meant just like you walk in and there's a couch a couple feet in front of you.
Well, it wouldn't work because I have like a really small like entryway right in front of my door. Like literally it has enough space to open the door and that's it. So if I put my couch in front of my door, I'm blocking the door from even opening in the first place.
Got it.
So, yeah, it's more like a barricade thing. So, come and get me, I dare you.
Yeah, we'll see what I do.
Well, I hope that the time off is good for you. I hope it's good for you. That's all that matters in the long run.
We'll see. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think about anything.
Life is a mystery.
Yeah.
But, wanna head to Louisburg?
Yeah.
Alright. So, we're in Louisburg this week, and as we talked about in last week's episode, I am going to verify that it is pronounced Louisburg.
North Carolina, correct?
North Carolina, yes. And we are talking about a person of prominence.
Okay.
But before we get to that, how did you get to Louisburg?
I took a bobsled.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It was...
Just a bunch of guys named Bob pulling your sled?
No, it was the bobsled.
I know.
Okay, I'm like, does she not know what a bobsled is?
I know what a bobsled is, but whenever I heard that name, it's always made me think of just like a bunch of guys named Bob pulling a sled. I know exactly what it is, it's just that my image of bobsled is way funnier.
It's the I Dinner Bob.
Oh my god. No,
I took a bobsled. It didn't go well.
Okay.
Because it's not icy
and
anywhere. So I kind of just dragged it behind me the whole way, but in theory I took a bobsled. I mean, I literally took a bobsled. I dragged it behind me because it didn't bob or sled.
I don't have a specific mode of transport that would work for this episode, so I'm gonna sprout wings and fly.
Just Miracle Grow?
Yes, I'm gonna chia pet my wings.
That's a weird. Like, I'm just picturing you as a chia pet now.
Keep that picture in mind.
Chia.
want to do the Bob Ross Gia. Or was it, or no, it was the, who was it? Doesn't matter.
Richard Simmons.
There we go.
Yeah, they have that. They have a Gene Simmons one.
God.
They do have a Bob Ross one.
Oh, so they do have a Bob Ross one. I didn't make that up. Okay.
Oh.
I don't know why I thought that was, like, in my head. I was like, oh, they should have a Bob Ross one. They do.
Well, they have a Richard Simmons one, and Veronica has it.
Ah.
Which is why I thought maybe that's what you were talking about.
I named one of my beta fish in college Richard Simmons.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Richard had a suicide attempt warning. He kept trying to jump out of his bowl. Like, multiple times. Yeah, multiple times. It was not good. But I caught him every time, so that's not how he passed.
I had a beta fish during, like, literally on my desk until the pandemic, and then I brought him home and he passed away not long later.
Oh.
I had him for years, so he lived a good 3 years.
That's a nice long life.
But his name was David Bowie.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I gave him a water funeral at the river because I felt bad. I couldn't just flush him. I made him a little casket.
Oh. A little water funeral. That's so cute.
A little Viking funeral.
Oh, I love that. All right. So, Louisburg is kind of a small town.
Yeah.
So it has a 2020 census listing the population at 3,064 people. So it is a small town.
Slightly bigger than my hometown.
Yeah, it's not a big town.
My hometown was smaller than that, though.
Oh. My.
Yeah. It's about 1,500 in town, 2,500 in town, but like outside of town, if you counted the rural areas outside of town. So we love a small town with a story.
We do. So it's located about 29 miles northeast of Raleigh, North Carolina, which is the capital.
Which we went to before.
Yeah, we've been to Raleigh, so we just traveled 29 miles outside of it, northeast of it.
Very cool.
And it was established in 1779 and named after King Louis the 16th. At the time of the town's establishment, France had been aiding the American Revolution.
Okay.
I thought this was kind of a cool fact, but Louisburg College is the oldest co-educational college in the U.S.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's a fun little fact.
Yeah, that's a small town to have a college, too.
Yeah, but it's also the oldest co-educational, which is
very interesting.
Very ahead of its time. So, as we mentioned ahead, we were talking about a person of prominence in Louisburg, and when I looked this up on Wikipedia, I literally found one person, and it was a old white politician from like 18-something, and I was not feeling it. So I Googled people of Louisburg and found that almost all of them were old white people from 18-something that were involved in politics.
Shocker.
Except for one.
Interesting.
And that's the one we'll be talking about.
Okay.
I decided I wanted to look into the life of Francine Everett.
Okay. I love the name Francine.
Francine is kind of an awesome person, but I do want to give a little trigger warning. We are going to be talking about some topics that involve racism.
Okay.
So that's the only trigger warning I'm going to give for this episode. And again, I just want to specify that Francine's a badass. So. It was a really interesting story, and it was way more interesting and way more involved than I thought it was going to be. So at first I thought this was going to be a shorter story. It's not. So let's crack into it. So, who is Francine Everett, you may ask? Great question. Francine was born Francine Williamson on April 13th, 1915, although she was known to list her birth year as 1920. And honestly, some women just want to lie about their age, and that's their prerogative.
Yeah, it was easier to do.
You do you. Yeah.
Back then than it is now.
Yeah. So she.
Although, you know what? This is not related, but it is. Do you know who Lauren Boebert is?
Yeah.
Cunt face.
Yeah.
So she lied about her birth date.
Really? Shocking. Yeah. She lied? I'm shocked that she lied.
I'm not at all shocked that she lied about things, but it is a little weird that
was sarcasm.
There is, I know, But it is a little weird that in this day and age, somebody who is currently, like,
alive, and
she's younger than me.
Yeah.
You'd think that her internet presence would make it hard for her to, especially someone who is famous,
and
whether for good reasons or bad is up for debate. I would say bad.
Bad.
But she has a Wikipedia, goddammit.
Yeah.
And apparently her birth date was changed on her Wikipedia at some point. So they don't know if her birthday, same year, but they don't know if she was born December 15th or December 19th.
It's such a weird thing to change.
Yeah, and she's dodgy about the question when she's asked.
Why does it matter what day you're born? It's a difference of 4 days.
I don't know. At this point, maybe she's worried about someone stealing her identity, but, like, who the fuck wants her identity?
No. No one. Keep it. It's yours. It sucks.
Girl, no.
Keep it. Nobody wants to be you.
It's a side note, but I just was reading about that this morning and thought that was interesting.
Lauren Boebert. What the fuck?
Such a bimbobert.
So, when she was younger, her family moved from Louisburg to Harlem. So, she was born in Louisburg, but she didn't live there very long.
Yeah.
And although she attended school in New York, ultimately she left school to become a chorus girl at some of New York's most popular venues at the time.
Cool.
And for a time, she worked and studied acting at the Federal Theater in Harlem.
Very cool. Chorus girl is super cool.
Yeah. We are talking about an actress, singer, dancer, and model today.
Nice.
And she is awesome, and you can look at photos. She is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And if she were alive today, she would be a huge star. So
I love her hair.
I know, right?
She's got the victory roll,
Mm-hmm.
just like before that was cool.
Yeah, she was so cool. She was amazing.
She nailed it.
She did. She's beautiful and amazing, and I love her.
Just like all of our episodes, I noticed that when we talk about this and we reference photos, we don't usually also mention that they're on our Instagram. So we should...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Instagram and Facebook.
Yes, so we should mention that we do have those pages, and if you want to see the photos that we're referencing, they will be posted along with the episode, so you can check them out.
Yeah.
I notice every time I edit an episode that we forget to say that.
Yeah. Thank you for putting that in there, because I would have forgotten. I also want to say that this episode does have some audio clips and video clips.
Oh, fun.
And I will be posting those on both our social media as well.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm excited about this story.
Nice.
So, she married Booker Everett when she was 15 years old and was widowed by 17 years old.
Oh, God.
But I also read that the marriage took place when she was 18 years old and was dissolved. So, I couldn't find a definitive answer on that situation because almost every source I read had a different explanation as to why she did not remain married to Booker Everett and what time and age. And considering that she changed her age from, by 5 years, that 15 years old could have been 20 years old, it could have been 18,
Right.
Nobody really knows, and it just doesn't seem like any source had a specific grasp on when she married and how the marriage ended.
The only thing that's probably really important is that she was married and no longer married by a very young age.
Exactly. When she was 21, she married Rex Ingram, and in 1936 they moved to Hollywood. They both were quickly offered roles in the film The Green Pastures, which was a film set to have an all-black cast. The film depicts stories from the Bible as visualized by black characters. Ingram, yeah.
I love that.
It is pretty cool, but we'll get into it. So, Ingram was cast to play the lead, playing multiple characters, one of which was playing God. And this role helped Ingram become one of the most reputable actors in the industry. Everett, however, turned down the role, citing Hollywood's then racially discriminatory climate.
Understandably so.
So, it's kind of a theme in her life of turning down roles that perpetuate racial stereotypes, which is why I think she's such a badass for doing that in 1936 when you're trying to start an acting career is kind of amazing. It's amazing.
Authenticity is a wonderful thing. It's a little bit easier nowadays, I think, to be an authentic person.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I think people are more open to authenticity But they're not open to it completely. There's more open to it than they were.
They're more open to it to an extent, and then they kind of find their line, and they're like, okay, we don't want you to be authentic anymore.
Well, I think, yeah, just like anything, progress has been made but not achieved.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. So, like I said, this seemed to have been a theme for Everett. She might have had a bigger role in Hollywood had she been willing to play cliche roles for black women. And at the time when Hollywood didn't see black women as glamorous, she refused to let herself be cast as a servant. I have a ton of respect for her.
Yeah, good for her, man.
Yeah. She refused, like I said, demeaning stereotypical roles that were offered to black women, which was never a glamorous woman. It was a side character, a slave, a servant, never something that was actually going to show them as a dynamic human being, but more as a one-dimensional, yes ma'am, no ma'am sort of character.
For sure. And back then, when they had a character that was more in-depth, they cast white people and put them in blackface.
Oh yeah, we're going to get into that too. We're going to get into that.
So, this is incredible. I'm so into this story.
I'm glad, because I thought you would enjoy it, and the more I read about her, the more I was like, oh, I love this woman. I love her. So, in 1939,
she went totally grunge in 1993.
Joined a rock band. In 1939, Everett and Ingram divorced. That year, she made her film debut opposite boxing champion Henry Armstrong in Keep Punching. By the mid-1940s, Everett was starring as a leading lady of race films.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So, race films, or race movies, were a genre of films that were produced mainly between 1915 and 1950. They were productions for black audience with black casts. During that time, approximately 500 films were made, and of those 500 films, fewer than 100 are still around.
That sucks.
It does suck. Because these films were produced outside of Hollywood, they were mainly forgotten until the 1980s, when apparently BET found some, which is kind of awesome.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it made sense, and it was pretty cool that they found them.
I want to interject real quick, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I just love that we went to Raleigh, and in Raleigh, we talked about race music.
Yeah.
With the Carolina Shaggin'.
Mm-hmm.
And the, 30, what'd you say, 27, 36 miles, somewhere in there?
Yeah, 29.
29.
Yeah.
29 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
We are talking about race movies.
Yes.
I love it.
North Carolina has a theme.
Yeah, well, and it makes sense.
It does.
It is the South.
Mm-hmm.
So.
The plus side of these films being, besides being incredibly popular with the audiences of the time, they also gave actors a chance to portray characters that would be outside of their reach in Hollywood. Instead of being relegated to playing one-dimensional villains or supporting roles, they were able to show black people as educated, genteel, and prosperous.
Mm-hmm. And that was probably also really great for the audiences that chose to watch those movies.
Yeah, it was really important for them to see that because they weren't shown that in mainstream media.
Representation matters.
Exactly. So, I was actually able to watch one of Everett's films.
From beginning to end.
From beginning to end.
That's awesome.
So,
my roommates are being such jerks right now. I'm so sorry.
Catboxing's gonna happen wow. What was that?
Was April and Nigel being assholes.
Wow.
I don't know what the fuck's in the water.
LSD?
In that case.
Can I have some?
I'm not into it. Too fucking hot for that shit right now. They literally... Okay, just so you've seen my apartment.
Yes.
They've been running from my bedroom, around the corner, up the couch and jumping off the back of it.
Oh my god.
Into the kitchen, jumping on the table, and then going back and forth like that. That's why it's so loud.
Parkour!
They're parkouring.
Oh yeah, they're gonna sleep well later.
I hope so. One of us better.
So, the movie that I was able to watch is called Dirty Gertie from Harlem, USA.
I love the cover of the movie that you included in the photos. It looks like the cover of the book The Beautiful and the Damned by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
It was an interesting movie, I'm not gonna lie. But it was, I ended up watching it on YouTube, but it is also on Amazon Prime, and it was produced in 1946.
That's so cool that you can still see stuff like that.
I honestly kind of want to see if I can find any more of her movies and watch more of them, because she's a good actress. I enjoyed watching her.
The internet is so wonderful.
So I actually made notes while I was watching this film, but I'm going to give a quick synopsis, and then I'm going to give you some of my thoughts as I watched it.
Okay.
So it's about a woman named Gertie LaRue, who is from Harlem, but apparently had a bad breakup with her boyfriend, and her dancers and crew leave Harlem and go to the Caribbean. It's a nondescript island.
Because she's a showgirl?
She's a showgirl. She's the star of the show. And throughout the movie, people have a lot to say about Gertie. So she gets to the hotel. There's like this big reception for her. And everyone's really excited to meet her. And the guy who owns the club that she's going to be performing at, Diamond Joe, introduces her to the crowd. Everyone cheers and says hello. And they go to the hotel. They check in. Mm-hmm. And they explain where everybody's going to be sleeping, and then they take Gertie and her closest friend up to the bridal suite where they're going to be staying.
Okay.
And Gertie makes a quip that maybe being in the bridal suite will bring her good luck. Okay. And the woman who shows her to the room says, "You'll need it," which is just so foreboding.
Ominous as fuck, yeah.
Yeah. So while they're looking around the room, they notice that there's a veranda attached to the room, and that there's a tree really close to the veranda. So Gertie says that she's concerned that somebody could climb up the tree and get into the room. Which, girl.
Foreshadowing.
Yes. Girl. I mean, honestly, that is something that I would be terrified of now. So yes, great. Great. So her friend makes a comment, "Why do you care? I wish some good-looking man would climb up here and get me." And, no thank you, lady. Hard no. Creepy.
Yeah, no. She clearly doesn't listen to true crime podcasts.
Clearly does not. No. And my exact response to this was creepy. No thanks. I'm with Gertie on this one.
Yeah, Gertie's got the right idea.
I also want to say that at this point in the movie, there's no way this movie is passing the Bechdel test. All they're doing is talking about men and, like, back-talking women. That's all they do in this movie.
What is the Bechdel test?
So, the Bechdel test is a measure of the representation of women in fiction. It asks whether a work features at least two women who talk to each other about something other than a man.
Okay.
The requirement is that the two women be named is something added, so they have to have a name.
Okay.
I honestly don't remember the name of the other woman, but she did have a name, I just didn't write it down.
Got it. I've never heard, I'm not a huge, film person, but that's a good test.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the reason I don't watch a lot of movies, is I always feel like, okay, well, it's just about some dude, and the girls are just there to look hot.
Yeah, they're just sitting around talking about men. They're stage props, and they're talking about a boy.
No, or they're talking about dieting.
Yeah. So, this movie doesn't pass the Bechdel test. So, she decides she wants to go out. Her friend is trying to persuade her not to go out because the club owner wants them there at 10 a.m. for rehearsal.
Okay.
Gertie says, "Fuck it, I want to go out." So she goes out, and she meets two military guys, a Marine and a sailor.
Interesting.
And she gives them nicknames. I don't remember which one was which, but one of them is Big Boy and the other one is Tight Pants. And that's how they're referred to as throughout the entire movie.
Oh, well, I guess that's a good sign for woman empowerment, is they don't name those men.
Yeah, they didn't have actual names. It's not like they introduce themselves as, like, Bob and Gary. They're like, Big Boy and Tight Pants. And
Tight Pants. I love that.
That's what she calls them throughout the entire movie.
I had a crush in high school. I nicknamed Pockets. And he went as Pockets for Halloween because he heard about it.
Oh no.
I wasn't exactly discreet. I've never really been discreet. That's not my thing. So I'm sure he heard me say it. Because I was, oh my god, there's Pockets. Do you see how high he is?
Yeah, love it.
That's a thing.
So Joe gives Gertie a necklace. There's a lot going on. I didn't take notes on everything, but at a certain point, Joe is talking about how Diamond Joe has a crush on her. And he's like, she's the woman for me. So he gives her a diamond necklace. And the entire time he's like professing his love for her, she's just looking at the necklace and completely ignoring him. And then he's like, have you heard what I said? And she's like, what? What's going on?
You gave me something shiny and then expected me to pay attention?
Yeah. You gotta talk to me first, then give me the pretty thing.
First talk, then shiny.
Yes. Not the other way around. Never the other way around. So, throughout the movie, you kind of have moments where Gertie's reflecting on her relationship with Al. And my impression is that Al was a big-time club promoter in Harlem. He raised her from a choir girl to a star. Mm-hmm. And all the women in her dance crew basically talk shit about how she ran around behind his back and didn't care for him. And everyone seems to think that the whole breakup is Gertie's fault.
So I was going to ask if Al was the person that she had broken up with.
Yeah. You never find out what really happened, but you get the sense throughout the movie that it's not what it appears to be.
Got it.
So she has moments where she kind of has like a flashback into being with him, and she'll yell about how he needs to get out of her life. She clearly has PTSD from this relationship.
That's too bad.
Yeah. There's a moment where she's drunk and coming home from the club after hanging out with Big Boy in tight pants. Mm-hmm. And she kisses both of them and then starts to walk back to the hotel, and they leave. And she's still drinking from a bottle she has with her, and she throws the bottle and she starts screaming about, Al, get out of my life. I don't need you. Please just get away from me. But he's not there.
Right.
So she goes back into the hotel and she's sitting in the lobby and there's a piano player playing. And the song that he's playing makes her sad, and she seems to be mourning, and then she gets upset because the song, I think, reminded her of Al.
Got it.
So she's having all these moments where she kind of feels like she's being taken back into that point.
Yeah, she's not completely over that relationship yet.
Now, no movie would be complete without a villain of the piece.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't Tight Pants?
No, Tight Pants and Big Boy are good guys. They're not the bad guys. They're probably two of the more supportive people of Gertie in this movie. It's kind of funny.
Interesting.
So, enter Mr. Christian. No idea how he relates, but he plans to talk to Gertie about her behavior, and if she won't listen to him, he's going to send her back to Harlem. Now, Mr. Christian has a teenage boy that follows him around named Ezra. No idea how these two relate to the story other than Mr. Christian doesn't approve of Gertie being there because her show is too scandalous. And the good people shouldn't be seeing this.
Okay. So Christian is Christian.
Yes, Christian is Christian. So Mr. Christian is trying to save her. He goes to talk to her about the Lord and tries to get her to leave, and she says no. And so he's like, fine, I'm gonna get you out of here one way or another. So he goes to talk to Diamond Joe. And Diamond Joe's like, fuck off, no.
I gave her something sparkly.
Yeah, I gave her something sparkly, and she's gonna bring crowds here. This is a show that's happening. I love this woman, no.
Yeah.
And so he's like, fine, I'm gonna go to the governor and tell the governor to send her away.
Good God.
And the governor's like, I'm not gonna send her away without seeing the show first.
What a Chad.
Yeah, exactly. So one of the guys traveling with Gertie at this point is drunkenly sleeping at a table, and he starts talking like he's having a conversation directly with Al, and he says something that creeped me the fuck out. He says that Al should have choked her and killed her when he had the chance, basically. None of the people traveling with Gertie are on Gertie's side except for her one friend.
That's awful.
Yeah, the whole movie is so creepy, and then Gertie has a flashback where she says she can feel Al's fingers around her neck. So obviously it was a very abusive relationship, but you never overtly say it.
Wow, she was clearly abused, yeah.
It's everybody else around her talking about it, and then she's having moments where she flashes back to it because she's just having PTSD from it.
And they're all on his side.
A lot of them, yeah, seem to be on Al's side because they just see him as this powerful man who can help them, and they don't care about her.
Jesus Christ.
So, the day of the show, Mr. Christian and Ezra are talking. Christian says he's going to go talk to God to get some insight because both Diamond Joe and the governor of the island have said no to sending Gertie away. So he's going to go talk to God, and he has this one-sided conversation where apparently God tells him that he should go see the show because, of course, Mr. Christian's a secret perv.
Aren't they all?
And Ezra's like, I should probably go see the show too because I need to know what I'm fighting against, and Mr. Christian's like, don't you dare go there. You stay right here. I'm going to go take a walk on the beach. I might be a little late.
Wow.
So he goes to the show. At one point, Gertie goes to see Voodoo Lady, is what she calls her. And the seer basically tells her that she doesn't want to know her future, and that her future means she's probably going to die because all she sees is blood and nothing else.
Jesus.
Yeah, this movie gets dark, and it's really fucked up. So the show starts. Gertie starts doing her routine, which she is dancing, and she's taking off one glove, and then she takes off her other glove, and she's about to take off her skirt when Mr. Christian jumps on stage and attacks her. Everybody pulls him off her, and Diamond Joe walks her back to the hotel. So she gets home, she's back upstairs, she gets changed, she's starting to, like, stand on the veranda, and she's just smoking a cigarette and hanging out, and then she goes back into the room, and she's just hanging out, looking in the mirror, like, cleaning herself up, and then you see a man on the veranda. And the window opens, and she turns around, and it's Al.
Oh, no!
Yeah, Al found her. So I have a feeling that they didn't break up. I have a feeling she ran away from him, and somebody on her team...
Tattled.
Yeah, told him where she was.
Ugh.
So he comes in, and she's like, Al, I love you. We should run away. Please. I love you. I want to be with you. And he just walks up over to her and shoots her 3 times.
Jesus Christ.
And that's where the movie ends.
It's like the ending of Clerks. The original ending.
Yeah.
Fucking out of nowhere, man.
Yeah. It really came out of nowhere, but the whole thing was very foreshadowed early on in the movie. Like, she was afraid somebody would climb the tree up into the veranda, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. I wouldn't have expected it was her ex.
Yeah, I would have thought it was like Mr. Christian or Ezra, but no, it was Al. She turns around and she goes, Al, I love you. I missed you. Please, let's run away together. And he doesn't really say anything. He just shoots her.
Wow.
If you want to watch, there's a clip I included with the photos.
Oh man, this is like Tyler Perry.
Yeah, I told you.
Is that fucking Medea? The first comment on this is that Cedric the Entertainer playing the voodoo woman? I love it.
Yeah. It was really fun to watch. It was really, really fun to watch.
Poor Gertie.
Poor Gertie. Gertie LaRue had it rough. She didn't deserve that treatment, and people were not on her side. Like,
not at all.
No.
Oh, I'm seeing the photo now of Ezra.
Yeah. Ezra and Mr. Christian.
Just a thin guy wearing a suit that's 5 sizes too big for him.
Like, he's clearly like a teenage boy who's just wearing a suit, and it's like his father's suit. It's bad.
Yeah, but the guy that's playing it doesn't look like a teenage boy.
He's supposed to be a teenage boy. I think that's why they put him in such a giant suit, but yeah.
That makes sense. That's what I was assuming.
Yeah, Mr. Christian. Did I include a picture of Mr. Christian? I thought I did.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he's in the same photo.
Yeah. So,
Mr. Christian, now the time has come.
So, like I mentioned, she was an actor, a singer, a dancer, and a model. So I'm going to talk a little bit about her singing.
Awesome.
She appeared as a singer in more than 50 soundies, which were pretty freaking awesome. Soundies were short musical films, and I included a link to one of the soundies as well that you can watch. It's like a 2-minute little sound clip.
Can I watch it now?
Yeah, do it. So, those are soundies. Like I said, they're short musical clips. And she was in more than 50 of them. So it was pretty cool.
That's incredible.
Her most notable soundie was called Ebony on Parade in 1947, which she also sang with co-stars Dorothy Dandridge and Cab Calloway and the Count Baddie Band.
I love it.
Yeah, she's freaking awesome.
Is it Baddie, Count Baddie?
It's Count Baddie as in Badie.
Love it.
Yeah. I will admit I am not a huge musical fan, but soundies do kind of do it for me, like a short clip of it.
Yeah, that's not the same thing as a musical.
Yeah, it's like an old-fashioned music video is what I put in my notes. So,
yeah, because I think of a musical as more of something with like a plot.
Yeah, and I mean some of them did have plots. It would start off with like a character coming up and saying something, and then it like turns into a musical, and then that's it. But not all of them did. So during this time, she also appeared as a model for clothing and cosmetics. As I've said before, she's absolutely gorgeous, so I can definitely see how she would make it as a model.
Absolutely. Especially cosmetics.
Yeah, exactly.
She's so pretty. She's got such a pretty smile.
Pretty smile, beautiful voice. She was actually a really good actress, and she was talented. She would have been a huge star if she were alive today. And because of the climate in Hollywood at the time, her skin color stopped her from being a big star, which sucks.
So shitty.
Yeah. Super shitty. So, and she was around at the same time as Dorothy Dandridge, who was the first black woman to be nominated for an Academy Award. So it's not like it would have been impossible, and Dorothy Dandridge is not like an unknown name. People know her.
Right.
So it just sucks that the culture didn't work for her.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that she didn't give in and like play the roles that were one-dimensional characters and side role was pretty amazing. So before Everett retired from acting, she did appear in 2 Hollywood films. Neither role was a starring role. She was in Lost Boundaries in 1949, which was about a light-skinned black couple. The husband struggles to find a job as a doctor. He seems to get a job at a southern hospital in Georgia, but when they arrive, the hospital says that they want to give it to another southern doctor, and it's for a doctor role at a black hospital. So, being that they are a light-skinned couple, he applies at a hospital for white people, and passes for white. So, he gets a job there, and works there for 20 years until World War II breaks out, and then he tries to enroll in the military, and they find out about his black heritage. That's the movie. So,
that sounds awful.
It is awful. Everett played a small role in that, and her character was called White Girl as Black. But yeah, so that's what she was credited as. And she was also in No Way Out in 1950, which was Sidney Poitier's first Hollywood role. He had been in 2 roles before that, but they were like military films. This was his first commercial film.
What else was he in? That's a familiar name to me.
Oh, he's a very famous actor and director. Like,
he passed away recently, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, he did. But he was 22 when this film was made, but he lied to the director and producers and said that he was 27. This movie was about 2 racist brothers who were shot, and when one brother dies, the surviving brother blames the black doctor, Poitier, for his death. Everett was credited as woman in that one, and No Way Out was her final film. So, But it is an interesting movie. I was reading some of the facts for it. Apparently the guy who played, I've heard of this movie, I've heard of this character, because it's kind of referenced as like a racist character, Biddle. Like the brother's name was Biddle. I've heard of this character before. And apparently the guy who played him was good friends with Poitier, so every time he had to say something racist in the film, as soon as they cut, he would just like profusely apologize to him.
Oh.
So he's like, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry.
That's really cool, though.
Yeah. So it was apparently it's a famous film. I've heard of it before. I've never seen it, so I might look it up and try and watch it. So that was her final film. She stopped acting in 1950, which coincided with the end of race films. At that time, she returned to Harlem to care for her mother who had suffered a stroke and needed extra care. She took a clerical job at Harlem Hospital, where she worked until she retired in 1985. Francine Everett passed away at the age of 84 on May 27th, 1999.
Oh, she had a good long life.
Yeah. So I also wanted to list a few other roles that she had been in. She was in Paradise in Harlem in 1939, Big Timers in 1945, and Tall, Tan, and Terrific in 1946.
I like the name of that.
Yeah. And on a last note, Francine Everett was often called the most beautiful woman in Harlem, and there was something obviously beautiful about her on the outside, but more than just her physical beauty. She was someone who saw taking roles that perpetuated stereotypes as the wrong message and declined to feed into that, and she didn't ever give in.
She's part of the solution.
She is. And
it's a long-term goal, but that's definitely a step. She was a step in that progress that's been made.
She was a stepping stone on the path to finally being a better society.
Yeah, that's an awesome, especially at that time where I'm sure it was harder to do that than it is now. Not that it's easy now, but at that time,
it was dangerous, I would say. It was a little more dangerous to do that. I feel like the hate you could have gotten would have been potentially more deadly at that time than it might be now.
Right. Well, and you probably had fewer people standing with you.
Exactly.
Than you would now.
Exactly.
You know, it's kind of like that trope of the teenage movie where they're all in the auditorium, and it takes the one kid to stand up first to speak out against something.
Yeah.
And then all, like, slowly everyone else in the crowd starts doing the same thing, well, she was one of the first people to do that. And I think that's, more people should know her name. I'm glad that you spoke about her.
I'm glad I found her name, because I had never heard of her before this story, and the more I read about her, the more I was just like, I love this woman. She's amazing.
I also am really excited to learn about soundies.
Yeah, they're really cool. I want to look up more of them. I was listening to some of them at work the other day and just, like, bopping along.
And we thought video killed the radio star.
No, it didn't.
No.
So, that was my story for this week. It's Louisburg. I mean, she is originally from there, but she's kind of known as Harlem's most beautiful woman.
Hey, some of these small towns, that's what we get. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's still a story worth telling, and she definitely got some of her life experience from there, so it counts.
Absolutely. And honestly, it's better than talking about some old dusty white boy.
No, I'm tired of that shit.
Yeah. Did you look at the last photo on the photos?
I looked at all of the photos.
There should be one more at the bottom, and I thought you would enjoy that one.
I didn't read the caption. Oh, girl. You and me. You and me both.
So, when I said the other day that I included a photo that I thought you might relate to, there we go.
Girl, same.
Yeah, that's how I've been feeling lately. Girl, same.
Yeah. Fuck them all.
You want to find out where we're going next week?
Yes.
Alright. I got my face cup.
Alright, well, good news and bad news.
Okay.
The good news is, it's warm there.
Oh, good.
The bad news is, we have another Florida man story coming in hot.
Okay, Florida man stories are rarely ever bad news because they're always hilarious, but, like, Florida is not good.
You and I feel differently about that.
I think Florida man stories are fucking ridiculous. I mean...
I just find them scary.
Can we just cut Florida off at the edge and just send it off into the ocean?
I've been hoping. So we're going to Lake Butler, Florida.
Oh, fun. And let's ask the face cup.
This is the second Lake something Florida that I have done.
Lake Butler, Lake Mary Jane. Wow.
Yeah.
You got lake fever, baby.
Who knew Florida was the land of many lakes? I thought that was Minnesota.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We have yet to go there.
Maybe we'll talk about one of their 1,000 lakes.
I believe they have 15,003.
Okay.
I don't know if you knew that.
Nope, did not know that, but wow, they really undersell the lakes.
I wrote a paper about that in high school. I still remember it.
The things that we remember, it's amazing.
Yep. I remember many of the lakes were named with racist terms.
Huh.
Yeah, many of the lakes were named after racist words, and the paper that I wrote was about the effort to rename many of the lakes so that they weren't named slurs.
That's a good goal. It's a really good goal to get rid of those names.
The one that stands out is there were like 4 lakes that were named with the J slur.
Yikes.
Yeah, bad.
Yikes. Okay. So let's find out what we're talking about.
Minnesota.
Let's ask the face cup what we're talking about.
Probably not that.
Face cups? No.
Although maybe.
Or racist lakes?
I was talking about the lakes.
Racist lakes.
Racist lake trivia.
It's amazing. I didn't know lakes could be racist, but yeah. I guess if they're named that way, definitely.
People who name lakes can be racist.
Yes, it's not the lakes. So we are going to have ourselves a tragedy.
So we could be talking
about racist lakes. Yes.
Okay, interesting. Well, it's been a minute since we've done a tragedy, so I guess it's about time.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's certainly been a minute since I've done one.
I don't remember the last time I did one, but...
I think it was during that string of just sad stories you did. God. 3 in a row.
Yeah, I'm so glad I got away from that.
Yeah, so I haven't done one since about that same time, or maybe a little bit before even, so. Okay, trigger warning in advance. Next week's episode is going to be
sad.
Whatever it is.
Racist lake infused?
Yeah, to be determined,
okay.
But TBD on the racist lakes.
Well, maybe when we get to Minnesota, which I'm shocked we haven't gone there yet.
Yeah. It's weird. We've got certain states have come up a lot. Well, you know what? Honestly, it's not weird because the population in Florida is probably exponentially higher than the population in Minnesota, so there's probably a lot more towns.
I mean, 2 North Carolina. This will be our 3rd Florida.
Yeah.
We've only hit California and Texas once, which is kind of crazy.
I guess, yeah, we have only hit Texas once.
Houston and Riverside, yeah.
Well, I knew we had only hit California once, but I felt in my mind like there were more than one Texas.
But I want to say there is more than one Texas, but I don't think there is. I only remember Houston.
Yeah, that's the only one I remember too, so I don't know. It's getting hard. We're getting up there in episode number, and it's getting harder to remember specifically. Yeah. I do know, though, for those of you who want to or do listen to our podcast on YouTube, I do make a sub-playlist with all the stories from specific states. So if you just want to listen to all of the stories about Illinois, there's an Illinois playlist.
Oh, that's really cool.
So it's not much now, but I think as we get up there in episodes, it will be nice for people to just be able to listen to all the episodes about their home state or whatever.
I love that.
So that's a work in progress, but
it's an awesome work in progress. That's amazing.
It is a thing that I had a little bit of foresight into to anyone who wants to. I kind of thought about doing that about the topics too, but that's a little bit more amorphous.
Yeah, that's a little more intense.
All right, well, I guess I will see you next week.
I will see you next week.
Yep. Happy traveling.
Can't wait to find out what you pull up for Lake Butler. What you fish out of that lake.
That tragic lake.
Tragic Lake Butler.
Yeah. Well, I guess I will see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Wandering Chronicles podcast with your hosts, Ashley and Jamie. You can follow us on social media at Wandering Chronicles Pod on TikTok, Wandering Chronicles Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and WND Chronicle Pod on Twitter. Or you can email us at wanderingchroniclespodcast@gmail.com. New episodes drop once a week. If you're liking what you're listening to, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on Apple. If you don't like what you're listening to, that's fine. Please tell everyone you know about our podcast. Your bank teller, that person at work that you're pretty sure steals your lunch out of the fridge every day, but you can't prove it, so you don't say anything. The hot dad that walks his dog by your house every day. Your cashier at the grocery store. Your children's friends' parents. I bet they listen to podcasts. Okay, thanks. Bye!
Well, let's just end the podcast. I don't think I'm going to top that.
All right, podcast over. It was good talking about Louisburg.
That was the final episode.
Yep, game over. Bye, guys.